We've been hearing some talk lately about a trade war with China, threats of a trade war with China. Our politicians have been talking about a trade war with China. Ooh, let's don't bother the Chinese, or let's not get them upset. Let's just tiptoe around their feelings because there's a potential trade war with China. Let me tell you something. We've been at the trade war with China for 50 years or longer, and they're winning. They're winning. We have been buying their products for 50 years. Their salaries are far less than ours. We have been building up their country for many years now. They have been opening up factories. We have been closing down factories. It's a no-brainer. The Chinese have been building factories. When's the last time you walked into an electrical supply store and walked over to a shelf, pick up 20 different items. Just walk randomly through the store, pick up 20 different items, and see where that item is made. Go into Walmart, go into the textile part of Walmart, pick up 20 different shirts, and see where they're made. Now keep in mind now that it may be distributed in America, or even if it's an American company, those products may be imported from China, India, Indonesia, some of these countries under the American company's name. But I'm talking about genuine products that are made in America. And the key here is, and this is what everyone has forgotten, everything you pick up that says made in China, that product represents jobs in that country, not this country, in that country. Now, if you go into let's just have an example. If you go into any given store and you go through every single item in the entire store, and 85% of those items are made in China, Indonesia, some of these countries that make far less money than the average American worker. Those represent factories in those areas, not in our country. I live in a fairly poor county in the state of Alabama, and we have a lot of people that are unemployed or not working that are getting entitlement checks, welfare checks. A lot of those people would love to be working, but despite the fact that an industry can move here and people could be making minimum wage and would love to be making minimum wage, there's not an option. There's one textile plant here, and that textile plant makes clothes for the government. We could use several other textile plants here, but our factories just cannot compete. Even at minimum wage, we can't compete against those countries. In China, we cannot compete against China. We cannot compete against the other countries that the people make these textiles and pay them $2 an hour. We just can't compete with that. And this is so fake when we talk about a trade war with China, like it's some kind of recent event that's just happening, or there's a potential. Oh, be scared! We have this potential to piss them off and have this trade war. Let me tell you, we've been giving them our jobs for years. We have been giving them our jobs for years. And our government has been increasing to supplement the jobs that we're losing to the private sector. And, it's a bankrupt situation for our country. It's a bankruptcy waiting to happen in our country. One day the checks are going to stop going to these retirees. One day the checks are going to stop going to these welfare recipients. One day there's not going to be enough money for all these federal jobs, these state jobs, these government programs. There's simply not going to be enough money because there's not going to be enough taxpayer money coming in. And what are they doing now? They're saying, hey, let's tax the wealthy and get more money out of them. They're looking for all these areas to get extra money. Why isn't anyone saying, hey, let's create more jobs? We're supposed to be creating more jobs, the economy. We're supposed to be stimulating the economy. We're throwing money into green this and green that, and and opening up more government agencies to create jobs to try to make our politicians look like the unemployment numbers are very low, so that they can get reelected back in office. But the truth is, the lifeblood of our country is the private sector. The lifeblood of our country is the free market. I'm not talking about free world markets, man. That's not fair at all for us to be able to compete against or have to compete against these third world slave labor countries that work their people 16 hours a day and pay them $1.50–2 an hour. That's just not fair for us, and it's making our salaries decrease in value. We're all going to be damn slaves before you know it. I mean, we're all going to have to, in order to compete with these other countries, we're going to have to get in line with their salaries. You see what I'm saying? I mean, the law of supply and demand. We're a consumer nation right now. We're buying their products. We're stimulating their economies by doing so. Because we're buying their products, and I know things are a little slower right now because the economy is kind of in a difficult shape, but we're still buying their products because we can't afford to buy ours anymore, because over the years our salaries have been having to decrease so that we can compete in the free market with China and these other countries whose salaries are by far less than what Americans are used to be making. Our middle class is shrinking, not because of capitalism, like some of the people are trying to say now. It's shrinking because we're competing against people that we should not be competing against. We should be all inclusive. We should be sovereign. I'm not saying that, we shouldn't be buying China, like the old China. I mean, it started out that, China was a good thing, your China plates. Well, maybe it was something new years ago and it was just something kind of unique, but even, I don't know, this is just backwards. This trade war has been carrying on for years, and the best thing our politicians should be doing right now is to create jobs in our country. It's not be throwing out all this money out there to things that it's just going to just be wasted. It's to start a public campaign, piss the Chinese off. It doesn't matter. They're just gonna, they know it's true. I mean, they've been creating all these jobs. They know all this is true that I'm saying. The best thing our politicians can do to create jobs and stimulate our economy is to tell every American to have a campaign to buy American products. Buying American products is the only way that we can get this thing turned around back in the right direction before it's too late. And our salaries have already been decreased because our factories have had to compete against Chinese, but it's still not too late. Even if we start, some American products are not too much more expensive than Chinese products, just a little. Others, 30% higher. Others, even more than 30% higher. Maybe we can't afford those products. But if we can just start buying American, if we can start our politicians start a nationwide campaign to promote jobs in America, call it whatever, call it promote American jobs, promote stimulating our economy, whatever you want to call it. But our politicians need to be all united in this, and if they're not, there's something bad wrong. You need to say, buy American. And if you're going to spend, if you have some extra money, a lot of people don't right now with the economy, but if you have some extra money, go out and buy American. But just a few people buying American ain't going to do it. If at the national level, people say, hey, we could have more jobs and we could start rebuilding our factories if we start buying American, well, start a campaign to do so. All of our politicians should get on the same bandwagon to do this. Buy American products. Please buy American products. All of you buy American products, and we might actually start, hiring some people. More people might actually start paying taxes because there's going to be more jobs to pay taxes. That'll help the national deficit. The private sector jobs, factories, is the lifeblood of this country, not government jobs or big government programs. The private sector is the lifeblood of this country. And why, how bad has the economy been bad? How bad has the economy been bad? We care more about the Chinese and other countries than we do about our own people in this country. I say we, our politicians seem to be scared to say, hey, buy American. When's the last time you heard a politician say buy American? Those American products represent American jobs. I'm telling you, American products represent American jobs. That's a no-brainer. It doesn't take a rocket science to understand that. You go in a store, you pick up an item off the shelf that says made in China, you buy that item, you're supporting a Chinese man way across the other side of the country. You're supporting the communist government also because they're collecting taxes on that item. You're not supporting America. To support America, start buying American products. Get your politicians in line that you put in office, that I put in office, that we all put in office. Get them up there promoting American jobs. You can throw money into an industry here, but they're going to eventually go out of business if they can't compete with China. There's no way to compete with these people. How do you compete? They work 12, 15, 16-hour days for $2 an hour. What do we do to compete? Okay, let's start paying our guys $2 an hour. Or these big CEOs, they're going to outsource our jobs to India and some of these third world countries. That's going to delete American jobs as well. So anyway, we've been at a trade war with China for years, and that was my point, and still is. And I'll keep saying that over and over. If you can't buy American, if Americans can't afford to buy American, how in the heck is a Chinese man making $2 an hour going to buy American products when they can buy the Chinese products before shipping charges to the United States, when they can buy them right in their homeland, and their government is encouraging them to buy those Chinese-made products. So why would they even buy American? It's just silly to think that they would. There's actually very few. If I had to suspect anything, if there's any exports coming from the United States to China, it's the Chinese government taking all this surplus tax money, pretending like they're buying some imported American products just to make us think that the Chinese people or Chinese public's buying it. And they're waiting until our factories close down and that all of our excess jobs that are leaving those factories that can't compete against them go over to the government side, which is unproductive and who don't pay taxes, and at the same time they're loaning us money. Next thing you know, they're going to own us. So anyway, buy American. Encourage your politicians to get on national TV and encourage the American public to buy American. That's the only way we can get our private sector back turned around, because the private sector is so important to this country. So important to this country. That's all I've got to say tonight. And I'll catch up with you later. This is the Vine Network. And you have a good night.